Okay, so before we get into that though, does anybody have any questions about any of your assignments or any of the content? If you do, you can always unmute yourself and just shout it out, or you can put it in the chat room. Okay, so just to give you a heads up, I already posted next week's stuff. There's an extra assignment in there. It's going to take you a little longer to get that stuff done. The last assignment, which is on the court cases, is pretty time consuming. So if you're gonna have any issues getting it in on time, just let me know. Send me an email or put a message in Classroom, okay? And we'll work through that. Okay, now here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go over the info with you, the background information about whether or not the president should be impeached and removed from office. Okay, now there's a couple things that you're gonna have to take into consideration. And again, this is another one of those issues that haven't been decided. So whatever you decide is the correct answer. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you and show you the information and the documents you need for the background, okay? Now we'll go to the 27th of January. And the first thing I'm going to show you is Article 2 of the Constitution and what it says in Article 2 about impeachment, okay? It says under Section 4, Article 2, the President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. So they're real specific there. Treason, betraying your country, taking bribes, that's pretty specific. But then it says other high crimes and misdemeanors. So basically, if the president breaks the law while he or she is in office or doesn't take the oath of the office serious enough or violates the oath of office, then they can be impeached and removed. Now, one thing I want to point out to you is it doesn't say in here that the president or vice president or other civil officers currently have to be holding that office. Okay, because that's that's one of the issues now. Trump is no longer president, but he's being impeached, and the articles of impeachment were sent over to the Senate, and they're organizing the removal trial. And one of the arguments is, why impeach him? He's already done with the presidency, or he can't be impeached because he's already out of the presidency. And we'll cover that in just a couple of seconds. Okay, but that, you can look at it either in two ways. You can be a very strict constructionist when it comes to the Constitution, and it says impeachment for, okay? So, you have to be in office in order to be convicted and impeached and removed. Or reading in between the lines, if it doesn't say the president has to be in office, then the Congress can kind of make that power up for itself. Okay. All right, now let's go to the impeachment articles. This is the resolution that was passed by the House, and all it takes is a majority of the House of Representatives to vote to impeach a president, okay? And remember, when they've been impeached, they're still in office. That doesn't mean they have been removed from office. So an impeachment is just bringing the president up on charges. Okay, there are two articles of impeachment. So the first part begins with a resolution, which is just a introduction. And then here's the first article of impeachment, okay? He tried to unlawfully overturn the November 2020 presidential election in the state of Georgia. Okay, now they're getting very specific here. There was a call that the president made on January 2nd, 2021 to the Secretary of State of Georgia. And the Secretary of State of Georgia recorded the call, and the president put a lot of pressure on him to find, 11,000 votes. I just need you to find 11,000 votes. And they're saying that the president's actions and statements amounted to interfering with the election process. and it violates both federal law and the laws of the state of Georgia. Okay, so that call that he made to the Georgia Secretary of State is the first article of impeachment. So that's very specific. The second one is what we were talking about last week. Is he responsible for sending a mob to the Capitol to storm the Capitol? Okay, they're saying yes. In Article 2, they're saying that's what he's guilty of. And they have the quotes that you guys took a look at yesterday. You'll never take your country back. These are things the president said. You'll never take your country back with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong. Okay. And then they talked about how after he sent them down to the Capitol, they, they put calls out to the president to say, hey, do something to get these folks out of here. And he said, go home. We love you. You're very special. Okay. So they're using that then as the second article of impeachment. Okay. All right. The last thing I want to point out to you, see if you can put 2 and 2 together here. I'm going to bring up the 14th Amendment, which not a lot of folks have brought up with concerning the impeachment with the president. Okay. I'm going to go to section 3 of the article of the 14th Amendment. Remember, the 14th Amendment was passed after the Civil War. And the first section says, if you're born in the United States, you're a citizen of the United States. And if you're a citizen, no government can deprive you of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, or it can't deny you the equal protection of the laws. That's the meat and potatoes of the 14th Amendment. But here's something in here I want to point out. This is section 3. It says, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress, blah, 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 shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same. And when they say against the same, they mean the federal or state government. Okay. So basically what this is saying is, now remember, this is for ex-Confederates. If ex-Confederates participated willingly and knowingly into the rebellion against the United States, the Civil War, they are no longer eligible to run for office. Okay, but it doesn't say specifically section 3, even though it was passed just for the Civil War, sake of the Civil War, it doesn't mention the Civil War in there. It just says, if you're ever involved in insurrection against the United States, you are no longer eligible to be an officer in the government you're trying to overthrow. Okay, all right. Those are my main points. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to go into Classroom. Let me share my screen again. You're going to go into Classroom and make sure you use today's. I've got the chart should look familiar to you. Use this last week. Okay, here's your topic. Are President Trump's actions on January 6, 2021 cause for impeachment and removal from office? Okay, give me arguments in favor of removing Trump and then arguments against. Discuss that in your group. I'll put you guys in breakout rooms in just a second. Discuss that amongst yourselves within the group. Even if you don't agree with, arguments in favor or arguments against, if you can think of one, bring it up, okay? Then summarize your beliefs, what you think. And again, these can't be wrong as long as you're following the Constitution, because this is not a hypothetical situation, but this is a real situation that hasn't had a conclusion yet. So no matter what you decide, you're correct, okay? All right. Any questions? No? Okay, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to put you in breakout rooms. Let me see, we got 14. So I'll put you in. Francis, do you have a question?
I came in late. Were you basically just going over different?
Yeah, the assignment and whatever group that you end up with, they can explain to you what your goals are.
Okay.
So we have 13. Okay, I'm gonna put you in groups of 3 like we did last week. Okay, once you get in there, just go ahead and get started and start discussing this with each other. And then you'll get the 1 minute, there's 1 minute left thing. And I'll send a message out to all of you right as I do that too. Probably going to be in either 3 or 2 in your room. Hey, Nick, Francis is waiting for you. Are you there? Okay, welcome back, everybody. Tell me what you guys came up with. Actually, I'm gonna start with Francis. I'm gonna put Francis on the spot. Him and his neighbor there. They're gonna tell us why the president should not be impeached. Go ahead, Francis.
If he were to be removed from office completely, it would cause a lot of turmoil because of the fact that his supporters will not be able to re-elect him again. And given the example that of the people that stormed the Capitol, I feel like a lot more of that will be around the United States. If you know what I mean.
I think it's already there. I think we're still unbelievably divided as a nation politically. And your point that this would make the storm even bigger is a really valid point. And I've heard a lot of politicians say that as well. Okay. Anybody else want to add anything why the president should not be removed from office? Go ahead and unmute yourself and put your 2 cents in. Nobody's supporting. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Well, I do think that he should be impeached, but I think an argument that could be made against it is the whole his words could have been misinterpreted thing. The you gotta fight and all that. He could say that was just like, oh, you gotta fight at the polls or whatever. So I think that's, and then another argument against it would be whether or not they even would impeach him even after he's out of office.
Okay. All right. How about some arguments in favor of removing the president, even though he's no longer president and he's been removed by the voters? And that's how we normally do things. But give me some reasons why you think the president they should take this a step further and he should be removed because of the impeachment articles.
I was going to say, or sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Okay. I was going to say that it says in section 4 of Article 2 that the president, vice president, and civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office of impeachment for conviction, treason, bribery, or other high crimes, which, like, him kind of telling his supporters to go ahead to the Capitol could be considered like a high crime.
Yeah, and I think if you ask the people Democrat or Republican, who were in the chambers, the Senate and the House chambers that day, they felt threatened, you know, and they put the responsibility on the president's shoulders. Yeah, I think that would fit. So Olivia, you're saying that fits high crimes and misdemeanors.
Yeah.
Okay. Morgan, go ahead. What were you going to say?
So I was saying that he should be impeached. Though the argument made that, you know, his words, he didn't use the certain words to say, go do this. I feel like he kind of gave them that little nudge that they needed, like the push or reason to like take their actions further, you know, just to prove their point. And then sorry, my like brain's all over the place. But yeah, I feel like he kind of just gave them that push that they needed. And he also did not tell them that their actions were wrong. He called them good people, when in my opinion, I think that's terrorism on the Capitol. So I think that's like a further reason as to why he should be impeached.
Good argument.
I agree with Morgan. He allowed his words to be misused.
Ooh, that's a good statement. Say that one again louder. That was brilliant.
He allowed his words to be misused by the people.
Wow. I like that one. I like that one. What about the first article? I know you guys are focusing on the second one, which is big. I mean, that's probably out of the two. That's a bigger one. But what about the fact that he called the Secretary of State of Georgia and flat out asked him? I mean, this is pretty damaging evidence because we have the actual recording of the call, and said, you know, hey, I need 11,378 votes. That's all I'm asking for. And he was really putting a lot of pressure on the Secretary of State.
I think, honestly, I think that one has been debated less just because it's so much more straightforward. There's less debating what his intentions were. His intentions were to just change the results of the election. And I think the only argument that could be made against it would be, you know, again, words being misinterpreted, him meaning, you know, not make up votes, but whatever. But because that one is so much more straightforward, he, you know, directly tried to change the results of the election. I think that he very well should be impeached for that as well. However, I think the argument would be made that, you know, the election results didn't change in the end. And so he wouldn't be tried for it. But I don't know exactly how the laws with that stuff work. So,
But it's attempted vote fraud.
Yeah, but, you know, going back to last week, we talked about how, you know, the one guy attempted to cause some sort of violence, but it never ended up going through and he didn't get tried. And I know there's a different amendment, but still, I am very much in favor of impeachment for this, but I think that is the argument that will be used against it.
Personally, I don't really think there could be an argument made against that because he used I forget the man's name. Donald Trump used the man's basically like his job as like, if you don't do this for me, then you know what's going to happen with this. So I don't think there's really an argument that can be made to like defend that he may have had good intentions, but I just don't see how there can be made one against that because he didn't use the wrong words. He knew exactly what he was doing and what he was saying. And just basically using, you know that election's coming up. So I don't really think that you could really defend his actions anyway because he knew specifically what he was doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it was recorded. I mean, it was flat out recorded. I was shocked when I heard it, honestly. Okay, one last question for you guys, and this. I don't know if this is the easiest one or not, but why would a Republican senator vote to impeach the president? because the president, you know, I don't know when they're going to, the trial's going to be held in a couple of weeks. You know, I don't know when they're finally going to come to a vote, but what would cause a Republican senator to vote to impeach the president?
This way he can't run again under his new Patriot Party.
Yeah, so that's flat out the only reason why they would. Well, there might be other reasons, but that would be a big reason, is that they don't want him running again. Because I mean, he, you know, is popular of a politician as he was, he really split the Republican Party into two factions, and they, you know, vote to impeach and remove him, and that faction is gone. They don't have to worry about it anymore.
I also think because, you know, every political party has like their, you know, specific beliefs. I feel like in a way Donald Trump kind of went against like true Republican beliefs, which I don't really know exactly their true beliefs. But I think he, in a way, went against what a true Republican is. And that's why, I don't know if I'm correct, but I feel like that's why, especially with the election, a lot of Republicans voted Democrat, because they have their true beliefs. And he, though being Republican, didn't express that true beliefs to them. I don't know if that makes sense at all, what I'm trying to say.
Morgan, you are correct. You described him as a populist. That's a person that rises above party and appeals directly to the people or a group of people maybe that have been disaffected by politics. And that's exactly what he did. And he brought people into the political world that hadn't voted in 20 years, you know, for any election. I heard a lot of people say that. I haven't voted in 20 years and I'm voting because of Trump. And you're right that he didn't have that. I mean, when he was running for president, there was a group of core supporters, core Republicans who they're called Never Trumpers. They formed a political coalition to prevent him from getting the nomination. And Morgan, it's because you're right. He had some core Republican values, but he had some that weren't. Okay, I have to end class at this point because you guys have to get to your next one in about 2 or 3 minutes. So thanks for participating. Thanks for being here. Next week's topic is going to be whether or not an amendment that failed the Constitution, wasn't added to the Constitution in 1983, the Equal Rights Amendment, can still be passed. Okay? All righty. I will see you all sometime this week or next week.